What if I told you that one of the most powerful tools for your garden wasn't in your shed, wasn't a special fertilizer, and wasn't a new high-tech gadget? What if it was a hidden code, written in the night sky? For millennia, stretching back to ancient Babylonians and Egyptians, growers and farmers have sworn by an ancient practice, planting by the phases of the moon. It's a tradition that whispers of a deep, primal connection to the rhythms of nature, a secret language between the soil and the stars. But in our modern age of scientific reason, it can sound like pure superstition. For a long time, researchers and scientists agreed, dismissing it as charming but baseless folklore. So, the question is, why do so many gardeners, from backyard hobbyists to seasoned farmers, still faithfully consult their almanacs and follow this lunar map? Is it just forgotten folklore we can't let go of? Or is there a genuine unseen force at play, a subtle energy that science is only now beginning to understand? The truth, as it so often is, isn't a simple yes or no. The answer is a journey down two divergent paths, one of rigorous scientific scrutiny and another of deeply human belief. And as we'll discover, the real secret might not be in the soil, but buried deep inside our own minds. For the believer, the logic of moon planting feels as perfect as it is ancient. The core idea is simple. If the moon's gravity is powerful enough to command the vast tides of entire oceans, surely it must also stir the subtle waters in the moist earth of a garden and within the quiet cells of a plant itself. This cosmic intuition gives rise to a schedule, precise yet elegant, for the entire gardening year. Across centuries and civilizations, one truth has remained unchanged, that above every field and furrow, the moon still whispers its rhythm to the earth. From Roman terraces to Celtic groves, from tribal plains to Indian farms guided by the Panchang, farmers looked up, not for superstition, but for synchronization. They saw time not as a clock, but as a living cycle, a celestial dance between light and soil, gravity and growth. And in this quiet harmony, the earth remembered how to bloom. The system most Western gardeners follow decodes the lunar cycle into two primary halves, waxing and waning. First, the waxing moon, those 2 weeks where it grows from a slender silver sliver to the full, glowing orb we know. During this time, it's believed that the moon's gravity pulls water upward in the soil, while its growing light stirs the energy of leaves and stems. This is the moment for planting annuals, for crops that flourish above ground: tomatoes, squash, beans, and tender lettuce leaves, eager for the light. Then, after the climax of the full moon, the rhythm changes. The moon begins to wane. Its silver light softens, retreating from the sky. And with it, the energy turns inward, downward, sinking back into the embrace of the earth. This is the time for roots, for carrots that anchor deep, for potatoes dreaming in the dark, for beets swelling beneath the surface. Gardeners prune, they weed, they tend the soil with reverence. For to follow the moon is not to follow myth, it's to partner with the cosmos. And when they harvest, sweet, heavy roots that break free from soil, they don't call it chance. They call it proof, a truth not whispered in books, but written in the dirt, in the quiet language of the moon and the seed. So, what happens when this elegant, time-honored tradition is examined under the cold, hard lens of science? For decades, the verdict seemed certain: no reliable, repeatable proof. The moon's pull on oceans, powerful, undeniable. But your garden soil, the effect is nearly non-existent. The moisture in that soil is so slight, and the moon's grip on it so weak, that even a gentle breeze, a shift in air pressure, or a few minutes with a watering can have far greater influence. The romantic idea that the moon is drawing water up to a seed, it sounds lovely, but by physics, it doesn't hold ground. And what about moonlight itself? That soft silver glow, mysterious, romantic, but scientifically, it's just sunlight, reflected. At its brightest, the full moon is nearly 400,000 times dimmer than the midday sun. Far too faint to drive photosynthesis, the essential process that powers plant growth. So, for decades, science dismissed it. Moon gardening, a beautiful story, perhaps, but not grounded in data. And yet, in recent years, something unexpected has begun to emerge. In high-tech labs and carefully controlled conditions, scientists discovered that plants can perceive moonlight not as a source of energy, but as a signal. This faint glow can trigger internal changes. It activates light-sensitive proteins, phytochromes and cryptochromes, molecules that help regulate a plant's internal clock. They influence gene expression, help synchronize growth with natural rhythms, and may even give seedlings a tiny boost. Not enough to replace sunlight, not even close, but just enough to suggest that plants are listening to the sky in ways we never imagined. However, there's a catch. This subtle response doesn't line up with the traditional moon phase planting guides. It doesn't support the folklore of planting carrots on a waning moon or beans during a waxing one. So, science hasn't confirmed the old wisdom, but it has uncovered a deeper, quieter truth. There is a dialogue between the moon and life on Earth, a mystery still unfolding in shadows and chlorophyll. If the data doesn't quite prove it, why does it still feel so real, so right, so rooted? Because maybe the magic isn't only in the soil, but in us. Gardening, at its heart, is a quiet rebellion against chaos, a pact of hope in a world ruled by chance. Ask any gardener. They've stood there, helpless, as aphids swarm, as hail shatters young leaves, as the sun scorches too long. In that unpredictability, moon planting becomes a guide, a cosmic rhythm to cling to. Not a perfect science, but a map carved in starlight, a ritual that whispers, "You're not alone. The universe is with you." And then there's this, the quiet act of looking up. In a world where the stars are dimmed by city lights and time ticks to artificial rhythms, moon gardening offers something rare, a reason to pause, to notice the sky. It roots us not just in the soil, but in the cycles of the universe. A ritual not of superstition, but of attention, and in that attention, something stirs. A trick of the mind perhaps, but a powerful one. Psychologists call it confirmation bias. Our tendency to notice what we want to believe. When the garden thrives, we bless the moon. When it fails, we blame the bugs. And so, the belief grows, nourished not just by tradition, but by the brain itself. A gardener who follows the moon does more than plant. They observe, they return again and again, guided by the rhythm of the sky. Their presence becomes a ritual, their consistency a quiet devotion. And in this mindful tending, success grows. And when that success blooms, they look up and thank the moon. So, is moon planting just a myth? Not quite, because the truth, like the moon, is layered, subtle, reflective. Science may not find solid proof in gravity or glow, but something deeper is at work here. A power not in the soil, but in the soul. It's like an athlete's lucky jersey, not magical in itself, but made powerful by belief, by presence, by ritual. Moon gardening may not command the tides of water, but it stirs the tides of intention. And that is enough to make seeds sprout and hearts stay rooted. The same is true for the gardener. The one who looks to the moon isn't chasing myth or magic, but rhythm, a ritual, a quiet promise to return. This gardener is attentive, consistent, not because the moon commands it, but because the moon reminds them to listen, to slow down, to notice. The real magic isn't beamed from 238,000 miles away. It lives here, in the soil, in the hands that tend it, in the act of planting something small with hope. Moon gardening isn't about control. It's about connection. It offers a rhythm that grounds us, a framework that brings wonder to the simplest gesture, pressing a seed into warm earth. And in the end, the best gardening method is the one that brings the gardener outside, present, proud, and paying attention. If the moon helps them do that, then its power is real, not because it changes the seed, but because it changes the one who plants it. What's your story? Do you follow the moon, planting by its rhythm? Or do you trust science, measuring, observing, learning? Maybe you found your own ritual, a quiet return to the soil, not for answers, but for wonder. Every garden holds a story, and every story is a thread in the tapestry of growing things. Share yours and follow Bloom Roots for more garden mysteries under the moon.